All right, we are on Daf Samach coming out. We'll take it from the second line. Rabbi Yosha said, or Elazar named Rabbi Yosha. This is a suya which essentially is the same as the Bavli suya on the same topic. Rabbi Yosha said, Tanai Basin who is a Tanai Basin, meaning Basin made a clause that if somebody sets aside a Korban Pesach, and another individual sets aside money subsequent to the, let's say Reuven sets aside his Pesach, and afterwards Shimon sets aside money to buy a portion of Korban Pesach. So Mana also al Shalo. So Reuven takes Shimon in on his Korban, and the money goes out to Chulin on its own accord, even though the money was hekdesh. Normally hekdesh is only hekdesh money normally only becomes Chulin when it's spent on Chulin, right? It's spent for an animal. Here it's being spent towards a hekdesh animal, but basically made a condition that hekdesh loses status of hekdesh if it's spent towards buying a korban, in this case a Korban Pesach. Now, the question is vis-a-vis the Korban Pesach itself. What's its status? Is it that the Korban Pesach becomes ois hekdesh for a moment? Some part of it loses its status of hekdesh in order for the other guy to buy into it? Or do I say, or it doesn't have to actually lose its status as hekdesh for any amount of time, rather it was initially sanctified with the intention that there should be able to other people should be able to come in on it later on. What's the difference? Who cares? So the difference is as follows. Very interesting difference. Let's say a guy, the second guy, Shimon, not Reuven, set aside $100 for his Korban Pesach. Vilna so Chamishim, and Reuven, when he allowed him to buy in for $50 less. In Tamar, if you're going to say Yotze l'Chulin, that the animal goes out to Chulin and then becomes hekdesh again, right? It goes out to Chulin and then becomes hekdesh for that portion that this guy's buying into. So in this case, Sharamos, the rest of the money which is left over, should be, and here the Girsa should be reversed, Sharamos Kodesh. Here, the rest of the money, the other $50 remains Kodesh, because the only way this money can become Chulin, the $100, is if it's used to buy a Korban Pesach, and only $50 if it was used to buy the Korban Pesach. So therefore, the other $50 has got to remain Kodesh, it's got to remain holy. In Tamar, if you're going to say if you're going to say that the way to understand why the Korban Pesach can be bought into by somebody else later on is because the original hekdesh is delineated by the assumption that it's possible that other people will come in, and therefore the original hekdesh was kind of like al Tanai on the Tanai based in. So to here, Sharamos Chulin. Again, changing the gear. So here, the money which is left over, the extra $50 you didn't spend on subscribing the Korban, should be Chulin. Why it should be Chulin? Because here too we can apply the principle and say that Chazal said whatever money is not necessary for the Korban Pesach loses its status as hekdesh, reverts to Chulin. So just like they said by the Korban Pesach itself, that whatever that they made it tonight, that wherever you want to bring in later on the Korban you could bring in. So too they could have made it tonight that whatever money is left over when you subscribe to Korban Pesach, that money go out to Chulin. Again, the other way around would not work. If you said that the shot by Korban Pesach is that the part which is being bought into later on is temporarily becomes Chulin and then becomes Kodesh again when the second guy buys into it. So here there's nothing which made the other money, the other $50 left over, which weren't used in the purchase price, there's nothing which would have reverted them to Chulin and they would remain Kodesh.
Sounds a little like a Brera issue.
Right, it's kind of like Brera, right? But we're using the Tanai Basin to overcome them. Right, if you don't have a Tanai Basin, that's really what it is. If you don't have a Tanai Basin, it's Brera. Now you're going to say Brera. The one who is designated to be Kodesh needs something to take it out of Kodesh. The only way you can take it out of Kodesh automatically without Brera, which doesn't work here, is to say there was a Tanai to begin with. Right, very good. Rabbi Yaakov Bracha Mar Shmuel bar Abba Boy. Rabbi Yaakov Bracha said that Shmuel bar Abba asked the following: Hagatzmucha Sheim no so chinam. Let's imagine this case. Hagad means let's imagine a case. So let's concoct a case. When I accept somebody in a Korban Pesach as a subscriber without taking any money from him, I give him a free portion of my Korban Pesach. I can do that. I'll give him a kazayis out of my own free will. Ma'islucha. What are you going to say there? Yoitzel chulin v'choizer v'hektish. Can you say that there part of the Korban Pesach goes out to chulin and comes back and becomes kodesh again? That you could say if there's money. You could say if Reuven has a Korban Pesach, he's accepting money from Shimon, so we could say, well, the Korban Pesach becomes chulin temporarily and then becomes kodesh again when Shimon pays his money into it. But here, Reuven's just giving it to Shimon unilaterally. He's not accepting any money, right? Right, it's already kodesh and it can't become chol in any way, shape, or form. Yet nonetheless, I can give subscriptions to my Korban Pesach as a gift. So it must tell us this must be a proof that the reason why I can bring other people into my korban is not because then it reverts to chulin, but rather because mishari shani ikdisha lakah, that it's conditional in the original sanctification Korban Pesach that I could always bring other people in afterwards, no matter whether it's for free or for cash. Milei and Rabbanan. Furthermore, the words of the coming up rabbis, which you're going to see in a moment, also Amrei. They also say it's not that it leaves goes out of the chulin and comes out comes kodesh again. That's not the case. How do we see that? Tamatzina, we learned over there. There's also a case the Bible brings down Psachim. Nasal Ksafim. If you give a prostitute money, right? That's you give her the wages of sin. So Harelu Mutarim. She can actually use that to buy korbanos. It's only if you give her a korban itself, she can't. You give her an animal itself as the wages that she can't bring as a korban. That's called estan. But if you give her money and she uses that to buy a korban, that's okay. That's not a problem. Harei mutarim yenos shmoyim v'slosos. And if you give her whatever wine, oil, and flour, kol davar shekarim al gam mizbeach, anything shekayotz b'karim al gam mizbeach, anything which is used on mizbeach, like similar to mizbeach, also, then that's forbidden to be brought as a korban, because then you're giving the actual wages of the sin itself to the base hamikdash to a korban. Now I'm sorry. The Korban adds in 4 words here. It says, Nasala mukdashim. What if you give a animal, so to speak, the raw material, but you give her a fully sanctified, consecrated korban? It's already been consecrated before it became an estan. That's okay, because it's a pre-existing condition, right? So, Rabbi Shimon Lakish Amar, what is that referring to? You can't give a korban to somebody. A korban is your korban. You can't give a korban to anybody else. So what does it mean you give me a korban? There's no such thing. So it says more, Rabbi Shimon Lakish says, I'll tell you what a case like that is. Should be b'mamane osa apischo. You make her a subscriber to your Korban Pesach or to your Chagiga. Oh, you make her a subscriber on the Korban Pesach. Now, besides all the connotations, current events, I know, don't even think of that. But besides all those connotations, what really is going on here, how could she become, it says here, if you give her mukdashim, it's mutter. If you v'ada amara, she'ena yetzu chulin v'chazer kodesh, it's clear from this that Korban Pesach does not become chulin and then become kodesh again, because the Korban Pesach became chulin and kodesh again, that would be a full-blown esnan, because you're giving her a part of the animal which became chulin momentarily, and then reverted to kodesh which she acquired it. That's just like giving her an animal which she can't make a korban. So how could it possibly be mutter to do this? Only if you're giving her an animal which consistently retains its name of korban. It's not being reconsecrated. Well, that's like the other side of a chakira must be that it's really, you're not ever reverting the animal back to chulin. Rather, it's kodesh b'shor rishon. It's just a tonight you're allowed to put it on anybody else you want. Adam Rashaina Yetzel Chulin v'Chayzer v'Kodesh, because the intent was Yetzel Chulin v'Chayzer Kodesh, because he goes out Chulin, then becomes Kodesh again. You also Mishum Esna should be also because of Esna. Now, says more, no. I have a different answer. Could be really it goes out Chulin. Alright, that's the case should be Esna. No, because Esna has to be when she has possession of it sometime. Pasalov shlo nichnas l'toch yado klum. he never actually took possession. Your daughter should be. She never actually took possession of it. Since she never took possession of it, it could be that that's why it doesn't become esnan. Again, it could be chulin for a moment, and then it goes Pesach again. Alright, that's Kishbi Esnan. No, Esnan is when it passed through her hands, and here I just bring you in as a subscriber. So in other words, she never had any full control over it. So she never had full control of it, so therefore it wouldn't be considered to be Esnan. That's what Gemara is proposing. Okay? So it's not in the proof from here that it goes to that it remains Kodesh the whole time. It becomes Chol momentarily. But still, since she never had full control of it, that's why it does become Esnan. Taylor, you should know this is true. The Tniyah Tamon we learned over there. Makriv, all of Kine Zavim, a person is forbidden. This is talking about a person who took an oath not to provide his friend with any benefit. Absolutely no benefit. He took an oath. Nevertheless, the Gemara says in the Dorim, or the Yerushalmi says in the Dorim, Makila Kine Zavim, Kine Yoldos, where you're allowed to sacrifice for that person, or the birds he has to bring as a zav, or the birds she has to bring as yoledis. So it's there. Why are you allowed to do it? You're benefiting them because they have to bring a korban, and you're exempting them from their chiv of having to bring a korban, but you bring the korban their behalf. So it must be that the only reason it's mutter is lo b'shlo nichlas yodo klum toch yodo klum. Must be the reason it's mutter is because they never actually received a benefit directly. Peripherally, indirectly, they were exempted from a korban because I brought a korban on their behalf. But it didn't go directly through them, so therefore it's not considered them providing illicit benefit to them. That's why it's okay. So here too we say the same thing, that even though she's actually getting a benefit from something which was momentarily chul and then became kodesh again, since it was peripheral in that she never actually took possession of it, so therefore that might not be the halach of esnan. Here too nothing ever entered the hand of the prostitute. Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Yami said, this will tie back to our sugya, but it'll take a few lines. Rabbi Yaakov Rabbi Yochanan said, Yispal Rabbi Yochanan Reish Shimon Lakish. So Machlokas Rabbi Yochanan Shimon Lakish. What's the Machlokas? Chaim HaMakdishim, can you consecrate a korban on Yom Tov proper? One said you can't. Chaim HaMakdishim, the other said you cannot. Rabbanan the Kesar Mefarshin. Rabbanan the Kesar explained, and the Machlokas of course wasn't clear from that line. The Rabbanan and Katzrin expanded on it. They said, Rabbi Yochanan B'tchila B'Yontif, Mefarshin Lahon. They explained the Machlokas. Rabbi Yochanan B'tchila B'Yontif, you're allowed to consecrate a korban initially on Yontif. It doesn't have to be done Erev Yontif. You can't initially consecrate a korban on Yontif. It must be specifically before Yontif. Now, Tani, according to Bin which holds that you can be makdish a korban on Yontif, let's talk about a korban on Erev Shabbos, which comes in Erev Pesach, and you forgot to buy a korban Pesach before Shabbos began. So what do you do on Shabbos? Tani, there's those who said, you go to somebody who sells goats, and you acquire from them a korban Pesach. Tani, those who said, you have to go to somebody who sells psachim. Not goats, but psachim. What's the difference? He who says you go to a goat seller, you can consecrate korban on Pesach, on Yotiv, and same thing on Shabbos. So I'd say go Erev Pesach, which comes on Shabbos, even to a regular goat seller, and give him a goat to use for your korban Pesach. He said you can't go to a goat seller. You got to go to a seller of psachim. That must be command makdish, like the opinion holds that you can't be makdish a korban on Yotif or on Shabbos, and therefore it has to be already pre-kodesh. Who is mekadesh it? The seller actually. So says Gemara, this much teaches us. This must teach us that when you buy into a korban Pesach, it doesn't go out to chulin and become kodesh again, because you're going to say that the logistics are that it goes out to chulin and then becomes kodesh again. You also should be forbidden to take this this animal on Shabbos, even though it's already been designated as Korban Pesach, Mishum Makdish, because since at some point it's going to become Chul and then become Kodesh again, so it's as if you're being Makdish on Shabbos or Yontiv over again. So it should be forbidden even to take from somebody selling Pesachim. Yeah.
Doesn't have to be Makdish, main hektish for the specific Chabura?
We're going to learn about that. It's a good question. Next Mishnah. So it says Gemara, Rav Chanina, Rav Mona. So the Rav Chanina, Rav Mona addressed this issue. It could be Chadmar b'makdish l'mochar. One said that the only time it's forbidden, the only time it's machlokas whether you can be makdish on Yontif, is about when you're being makdish not for the use of today, but being makdish for the use of tomorrow, which is already Chol Hamoed. The other man, Domer, said Choram bar b'makdish bedek habayis. The machlokas being makdish on Shabbos or not, all he has to do is be makdish lebedek habayis, not being makdish animal for kedushas mizbeach. So therefore, it's possible to say that there in Yerushalmi, where they were buying the korbanos on Erev Pesach, which happened on Shabbos, since they required it for Bo Bayom, so therefore it was mutter to take regardless. It was mutter to be makdish regardless. So you could say it really goes out to Chulin, and you are makdish it again. Alright, that's the case, should be forbidden to take it. The only korbanos now to take or designate when beyond for Shabbos are korbanos not necessarily for that same day. But this korban is necessary for the same day, you could buy and acquire on Shabbos or Yom Tov regardless. Okay, so says the Gemara, Amar Rav Simi said, V'afilu commando Amar, even like the opinion who holds, here's the two words missing in carbonated, it says it should be, Filu commando Amar, ein makdishin. The truth is, even though you hold ein makdishin, and therefore you can't take an animal which is chulin or animal which reverts to chulin, here it's different. Why? Not because it's the same day, but because makdish ba'azorah. Here you buy the goat and you makdish it in Nazara. Now why Nazara isn't any difference in the Beis HaMikdash? Because what's the reason it can't be makdish starting on Shabbos? The Rabbana. What's not also in the Beis HaMikdash? Ain't shvus b'mikdash, the Rabbanans. There are no rabbinic prohibitions in the Beis HaMikdash. So taking the Beis HaMikdash should be makdish it there.
So you could even go to the goat seller.
Right. That's exactly his point. Right? You can even go to the goat seller, hypothetically, as long as it's for the purpose, and I guess it's not clear according to him why this period which holds you have to go to the Pesachim seller. But in any event, you see here clearly that you're allowed to makdash azora, because it's a shvus, it's a rabban in the Beis HaMikdash made in motor. How we know that there's concept of subscribers? Because it says you cover the animal with souls who participate in it. Now here it's a typo. I know people can pull off until the animal is shechted. People can keep on pulling out the subscriptions. Nemar kan seh, and it says here, because it says here seh, Nemar Mitzrayim seh. It says also goat in Mitzrayim. Ma zesh nemar Mitzrayim chayv lo shachut. Just like that one which it says by Mitzrayim is alive and not yet slaughtered, and that's what determines its status. So too, so to the one for eternity, chayv lo shachut, it determines its status as long as it's alive, meaning both l'chumra and l'kula. L'kula being here what? They can constantly change and renege until the animal is actually shechted. Okay? Matav Rabbi Shimon.
There's another man that says until exactly Zrika.
Right, that's Rabbi Shimon. Matav Rabbi Shimon says you can even change till Zrika. So it says Rabbi Shimon, Ilu Mesu. I'll tell you why. Because if let's say Mesu, some of the members of Chabur, not all of them of course, die ben Shchitil Zrika. So you're missing members of Chabura. Shema in a Bailam Miskaper doesn't mean no kapar can be achieved by the owner, it's whoever's left. Of course they can be Miskaper. So Mabe Mesu, so therefore if you can pull off, people can pull off between Shchita and Zrika. So they can pull off Mabe Mesu, Mabe Mashkubayim Misyadeh Mimenu. Just like they can pull off by death, they can pull off by willfully bowing out, avoiding their having to die. Okay, so that's how he learns it. What if a guy says, listen, I want to take Yankel in on my portion of the Korban Pesach? He has more than the Kazayas coming to him. He decides to bring in another guy. So the other people in the original chabura could say, here, you take your stuff, and he and his guest eat from his portion, and they eat from their portion. Okay, so bnei chabura shu yadav shel echad me'em yafos. The bnei chabura, if one of them had grabby fingers, that means he had nice hands, but it means here that, figuratively speaking, he was actually quite what? Yeah, I guess it's a way of putting it right. In other words, he was grabby. Sticky fingers, right. Chicagoan. So they can say to him, take your portion, and eat for yourself. In other words, the two of you. You and the guy who pulled in, because we don't want sticky fingers with us. Lo sof over Pesach. When true, this is not just true about Pesach. Now, if you in bull, let's say a few people made a party. Symbol is like a common dinner. Rashoylom, and then one of the guys brings in a glutton into his portion. Rashoylom, they can say, "Lo telcha, take your portion, and go eat by yourself with this guy who's accompanying you." Imayuma kirin also. The exception is in a case where they know this person very well. The kachitz limo b'shor rishona. So then, in other words, they knew originally that this guy has grabby hands, so then Mistoma, they recover upon themselves, and they can't say later on, we changed our mind and we don't want to divide up anymore. Okay? Rav Huna Amar, Hamar Vishpischo. Now we have a very fundamental machlokas here. Rav Huna says somebody who separated his Korban Pesach. Varmei said, Almanah Shaloi Moneh Acherimi. I want to have it by myself, nobody else should subscribe with me. Me by myself. Ein Acher Nimne Imo. Another person cannot join with him. That's what he said. Fair is fair. He free shall stop. What if he set aside without specifying anything? He didn't say only me or only XYZ. Call Mashiavo Minuyavim. Anybody who wants to join later on can become subscribers on the Korban. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha b'Shem Rabbi Zira said, Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha named Rabbi Zira said, Masnisa Omer Kei. Does our Brisa hold that way? V'imyat habayis. Doesn't Brisa say? Imyat mi bayis. If you have each household cannot afford a lamb or a goat, so melamed shemismatim v'hochin. It this teaches us that the widash is supposed the imat means to be diminished. It teaches us that they continuously beget less and less. Yeah, let's say, well, let me give you a concrete example. Let's say it's original chabura of 10 people, right? And they could consistently become more and more eroded, more people hemorrhage out of the chabura, right? There's got to be at least one person there who was there at the beginning, and another person was there at the end. So Korban Pesach can be a constant state of flux, but it's got to be anchored in the one guy who was there at the beginning. Okay, now, you might ask, so what's the difference between Rav Huna and Rabbi Yaakov Racha? Rav Huna said that one guy could eat a Korban Pesach himself, right? Yeah, he can bar entry to anybody else, right? Whereas Rabbi Zira said that people are coming and going, right? Just one, the first guy. Right, so what's the between his two opinions in the abstract? I lost my place. Oh, I skipped the whole line. I skipped before. I'm sorry. I missed me. Sorry. Well, I stopped middle Bryce. I skipped Rabbi Yosef by mistake. Let me start from the Bryce again. The second line on the page. Does the Bryce say like Rabbi Huna? It says V'mimata Bais, if the house is diminished, they can diminish and diminish. Uvad as long as there's one guy left for the first chabura, one guy left for the last chabura. David Rabbi Yochanan, the Rabbi Yosimar, Bain Imina Rishonas Bain Ashniya. There always has to be two people there, but not necessarily the same two people. Uvach lo yanichos haPesach kamo shehu. As long as they don't leave the Pesach lying there without any shmira. Now, if you're going to say that everybody who comes, like Rav Chuna, because a member of the Chabura, Nued makes a distinction whether they're first or whether they're last, they're all a member of one large Chabura, not a Chabura channel off to another one. So, Hein B'nei Chabura Ashniya. So then, I misread that. One second. What? I went back a lot, I think. Yeah. Look, if you say Rav Chuna that everybody comes on becomes a subscriber, it's better if I explain this a little bit outside. According to Rav Chuna, well, the truth is, I'm about to explain, but I'll explain to you outside before we do. According to Rav Chuna, when I'm Makdish Korban Pesach, it's as if everybody I'm going to draw on with me later on is now a member of my Korban Pesach. Chronologically, I can have the Korban Pesach for the next 6 months, and anybody who joins for the next 6 months as if they joined at the beginning, on day one. According to Rav Acha Bar Yaakov Bar Acha, no. Anybody who joins now, it joins now. Anybody who joins later, joins later. It's chronological. It's not instantaneous, simultaneous, but it's sequential. Now, what's the difference? According to Rav Chuna, is it shaykh to speak about Chabura Rishon and Chabura Shniya? There are two groups. It's all one big Chabura. According to Reb Zira, there's the first ones and the last ones. Manavi B'nei, what's the difference between the two opinions? The Hifrish Pischa. This is a cool nafkamina. You got to get ready for this one. Hifrish Pischa, set aside your Korban Pesach, Umashach Yodam. And then you duck out. So Pesach is in limbo, right? You set it aside. You duck out of the picture. What's the Pesach now? No man's land. Then V'nimna Acherimo, another guy joins the Chabura. Of course, you say to him, "Listen, Yankel, take the Pesach. I'm leaving. I'm splitting." Right? So according to Rav Chuna, Adai to Rav Chuna kosher, because the second guy, it's as if he was there, and therefore there was no gap time, which there's nobody involved. Adai to Rav Zira apostle, because according to Rav Zira, it's consecutive, right? And therefore the second guy is coming on too late, because there was a gap in the middle, which nobody was a subscriber, so therefore it's no good. Okay? Similarly, Aldaiti to now here the names are reversed. Aldaiti to Rav Zira, according to Rav Zira, Hektesh Yochidu. According to Pesach belongs to whom? It's a good chap. The first guy. Because it's chronological. There was a time which Korban Pesach belonged to one guy. The guy was Makdish. Then later on other people joined. But he was first, so it's a Hektish of an individual. The Hektish Yochid is Tzmura. The halacha is Korban of an Korban individual can create Tzmura. In other words, if I say that my animal should be the Tzmura of that animal, so the second animal is cut just like the first one. According to Aldaiti the Rav Chuna, according to Rav Chuna, Hektish Shutfinhu. Chuna says everybody who joins on later on, it's as if he was there from the beginning. So there was never a Korban of a Yochid. It was always the Korban of partners from the get-go. So then Hektish Shutim, now you say Osa Tmura. Hektish of Shutim does not become Tmura. Can't do it, doesn't become Tmura. Now, here's another cool nafkamina. Ready? 100 people join on. Now the ka'achas is superfluous. 100 people joined on.
At the same time?
No, not necessarily. In succession. As a matter of fact, it's better if it's in succession. If there's a kazayis, you share one kosher. Im lav, and if it's not, if there aren't 100 kazaysim in this goat, puzzle. It's puzzle. Why is it puzzle? Because everybody's supposed to, nobody's getting kazayis, right? And they're all equal in status. On Rabbi Zira, No. Since Rabbi Zira holds it sequential, this is Givaldi. Halfway Mafela! Since Rabbi Zira holds it sequential, so the first 50 guys to get on, they get a kazayis. The next 50 guys are out of the picture. Right? Because since we keep on going.
It's like last in, first out.
Right, exactly. So he says, Adaita Rabbi Zira, Makom, until the place, Sheish Gazayis Kolecha Ve'echad Mehem, that each and every one is Gazayis kosher. V'imlav, meaning beyond that is possible. Okay? So that's why it's big nafki. According to Rav Huna, all 100 equals, so all 100 have to get Gazayis, otherwise it's not good. According to Rabbi Zira, it's sequential. So as many people as are still jumping on the bandwagon, well, they can still get Zayis, they are Yotze with this Korban Pesach. The rest of the guys are not. It's a major nafkamina. B'tani Kane, we learned concerning the fact that Bryce like Reb Zira. Nidnu love, they became subscribers on it, because when you love, they became other subscribers on it. Yad Mokum Sheyesh Gazayis Kol Echad Echad, other places Gazayis, each and every one. Kosher, Vimlav, beyond that is possible. Okay, how we go? Halachei. Zav Sherosh Teirios. A Zav who saw twice. So the halacha is that he's tummy for 7 days. Shesochni lo b'shvi k'shecht for in the Korban Pesach, if it comes out, Erev Pesach comes out on the 7th day. Rosh Shalosh, what if he saw 3 times? Then he has to bring Korbanos. When is bring Korbanos? Dr. Spindel, when is bring Korbanos? A Zav has bring Korbanos? Tamei Mace. When is Zav bring Korbanos? Take another guess. Educated. No. 8th day. After 7 days of Tara. So if the 8th day comes to Erev Pesach, you shech Korban Pesach on him. A woman who was a Zava for 1 day, so the next day she goes to the mikveh. So right, so shech lebesheni, you can shech for on her 2nd day. She saw 2 days. Shech lebeshlishi, she's still shebes yom keneged yom on the 3rd day. She needs to keep 1 day, and then for the 3rd day, if the 3rd day comes to be Erev Pesach, you can slaughter the korban for and do shechita on her. Hazava, she saw 3 times, it was 3 times, then she's just like a zav, shechna b'shmini, and you only shechten her on the 8th day. Now, says Gemara, very long Gemara here. Tani Rabbi Chia, neither shechtim ele b'shmini. Neither is the same thing. Even though she's only tummy for 7 days, but when she should go to mikveh for the first time? After the 7th day is over at night, right? So when is the first time you can shecht for her? Not on her 7th day, but rather when on her 8th day. Because that night she can't eat the Korban Pesach. She can only eat the next night. So therefore you can only shech for her on the 8th day. Despite the fact that she has no korbanos to bring. But on the 7th day, she's never tahor. And the 8th night, right, which follows the 7th day, she's still not tahor. She has to go to the mikveh. So therefore, she can't eat the korban. She can't have Korban Pesach unless her 8th day has an Erev Pesach, when she's already left 2 more altogether.
She goes to the mikveh that night, and then she can't.
No, because they can't slaughter upon her because she's not that day. She can't become Torah. Right, the entire day. Right, so she could. Right.
She goes just
at night to mikveh, no good. Only if her 8th and 7th night is Yudalit. So that the truth is, if 7 nights is Dalit, then she can go to mikveh that night, or she can go to mikveh the next day. The point is that she can already become Torah before Pesach begins. But if she can't become Torah at all before Pesach begins, because she's a Nida on her 7th day, and she'll only be called to go to mikveh that night, so then she cannot make Korban Pesach.
So she has Pesach training.
Yeah, she has Pesach training. She might be a Nida then too. She's cyclical. She's Nida twice, right? Boil Nida, what if a guy had relations with a Nida? So Shochtan B'Shvi Shlo, you can shechten him even on his 7th day if that comes on Erev Pesach. Rabbi Yosef says, Hadam Rasha Bal Nida Tor B'Yom HaShvi Shlo. Jesus says a person who has relations Nida does not have to go to the mikveh only at night. He go to the mikveh during the 7th day, during the day. So by nightfall he can already be Tor. Okay? Ha'onen. Fakeh Chasagal. Somebody who's an onain, or somebody who's clearing an avalanche, looking for bones. Somebody who's been promised to leave prison. An old man, a sick man or an old man who as long as they think they can eat a kazayis, you can check the Korban Pesach on all these individuals. And all of them, here's an eighth of Tova, good advice. Don't check on them if they're the only subscribers. Why? Because maybe something will happen in the meantime and Pesach will come possible. Therefore, since the Korban Pesach was shechted upon them, even if it turned out afterwards that they cannot eat it, they don't have to make Pesach Sheni because this Riko is done properly. I love shouting when the base matters is empty. Chutz. So much fun. That's a great echo.
This is like in the Museum of Science and Industry.
That's right.
The
long hall, yeah. Only here it's the opposite. Chutzah that don't magnifies it. Except for some. Yeah, it's not about. I've been tempted many times to actually do that. So I have a table, just a round table, a little base finish, and have it to say shiur. Except for somebody who removes the avalanche, also since there was obviously what happened is that when he opened the avalanche, he found a body underneath. So that body was there from the morning. So therefore he was not able to Korban Pesach because he was not even Torah at the time of Zrika. So he became postal afterwards, came postal retroactively. Rabbi Yossi Rabun and Abba Bar Chana both said B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Masisa, our mission, which says that if somebody's in prison and he's supposed to get out in their Pesach and share the Korban Pesach on him, that's only b'chav shiur Yisrael when Jews have him in prison. But if the Goyim have him in prison, Asher PMD Bel Shav's powered. Asher PMD, they can promise, but we don't don't believe it. Asher PMD Bel Shav, their mouth speak falsehood. V'yibinam Yimin Shakir, and their right hand is the right hand of lies. So even if they promise to let him out, they're not going to let him out. So everybody can share the Korban Pesach on him. Now, you should know that would say in our Mishnah, says the Yerushalmi, that we only shecht on a Jew who's in prison, in a Jewish prison, if he's promised to let go on Erev Pesach. That's B'nosach Chutz Yerushalayim, so the prison is outside Yerushalayim. But B'nosach Yerushalayim is in prison in the Russian compound. In Yerushalayim, you know the Russian compound is where the Jerusalem municipal jail is. It actually might be inside the boundaries where the old city was. Because that actually, the third wall of Yerushalayim, was beyond that area. It was near the area of Meir Shorim. So if you're in prison there, Kivaldik, you can eat Korban Pesach in jail. We don't have to let you go. True Cheirus, right? You eat a Korban Pesach in jail.
You lean on your left side.
I feel like if they promise out, it's as if they promise out, meaning he can eat in jail if he has to. Rabbi Yossi, they both said, now originally they both said, and this is an interesting thing they said, Yisrael Orel is a fellow who's Yisrael who's uncircumcised, and he becomes Tameh. Tumas Meis. Now, by Erev Pesach, he's slated to be circumcised Erev Pesach. For some reason he wasn't circumcised. Till now, maybe he's an adult. So he's slated to be circumcised Erev Pesach, but he hasn't yet become circumcised. In the meantime, beforehand, he became Tomei Tumas Meis. So he had a Zohar, a Porah Aduma one on the third and seventh day. Is he okay then Erev Pesach to bring the Korban Pesach? Since he'll be circumcised then. So Rabbi Yossi Tarvein B'Kamesa Yarnabin originally used to say Yisrael Orel, the person Yisrael is an Orel, Matzid Olav, even though he became Tamei previously. Once he went the third and seventh day through, you could be Matzid Olav. You could sprinkle in a Porah Aduma one on the third and seventh day, and then he can make Korban Pesach or Pesach. But Lo Havin Armin Klum. It turns out we weren't correct. Literally, we weren't saying a thing. It's absolutely untrue. How's why? Tan Rabbi Simon Bar Zavdi Kuli Rabbi Hila. Rabbi Simon Bar Zavdi name Rabbi Hila. Nemar Khan. It says by an Orel Yisrael. Vazi Krav La Soso. It says that when he becomes circumcised, then he can come do Korban Pesach. It says if you have an Eved who's an Orel, not the Jew himself, but his Eved. So then it says the Eved's got to get a circumcision. Oz Yochal Bo. Then the Eved and the master can eat it. Ma Oz Shenemar La'alon, just like the Oz which is stated subsequently. Ad Shia Kosher B'Shas Achila. Right, it says Oz Yochal Bo, so it means you have to be kosher at the time you're eating. Oz Shenemar Kan Ad Shia Kosher B'Shas Shchita. So to the Oz which it says by the guy who's in Ar Yisrael, he has to be kosher at the time that he is shechting the korban, because it says there Oz Yikrav La'asos, which means Shchita. So this must teach us that. Sorry, I made a mistake. I want to learn like the Shari Torah's Eretz Yisrael, one of the Sfarim on Yerushalmi. He changed the gears for here. I forgot. Let me go back a minute. Rabbi Yon and Rabbi Yossi. You see that Rabbi Yon and Rabbi Yossi? 3, 6, about 10 lines about. He changed it from Mazin Poraduma on him. I apologize. He changed it to Sheichtim on him. The Sheichtim, the Mazin was the Zrikas Adam. He learns it. The Zrikas Adam, the Korban Pesach. This is all. Forget about the fact that he was told me previously. Disregard that. That's from the Korban 8 and others. Disregard that. We're talking about a case where a guy, Stam Norel, is not Tomei, but he can get a circumcision that afternoon. So do we let him do the Korban Pesach that morning, or that afternoon before his circumcision? Now bear in mind, by a goy we don't let you. That's the next Mishnah. A goy is Megayin Erev Pesach, he can't make the Korban Pesach that year. But when you saw Orel, Mazlov means the Zrikas Adam on him, even before he got the Bris Milah. The law of him, it's not true. And that's what we learn from here. Tarasir Barzav, the Kum Rabila, Nemer Kam Bazikav. So it says by Or Yisrael, only when he has the Bris Milah, he can be oyster the korban. The Nemer Lahan Oz Yochaban, it says by if you own an Orel Eved, only after he has a Bris Milah can he eat it. By the Orel Eved, it means he's got to be kosher at the time you eat your korban, right? So to hear the Oz which is stated here, meaning it says Oz Yasa also, Oz Yikrav La'asoso means Asher kosher b'shas shchita. Only once he has a Bris Milah can he actually do the shchita. So even though it's promising to do it this afternoon, it doesn't work. I just thought that it's a little play on words here. Oz and Gematria is 8, of course. So it's only when he has an Oz, when he has a Bris Milah, Yikrav La'asoso, then he can do the Korban Pesach. Okay? Now, this is going back to the guy who's taking out an avalanche. I'm checking the avalanche to see if there's anybody alive there. Sometimes even the guy who's digging on the avalanche is like the other people mentioned in our Mishnah who are exempt from Pesach Sheni. Sometimes, and here's a big type of the Korban points out, sometimes he's different and he's not, he has to make Pesach Sheni. How so? When is he like the other guys? Begala Roch. He's clearing a long avalanche. So he's not over all of it at one time. Therefore it's possible, Shani Oimer, Nizar Kadam Achloikilatuma. The Zrikas Adam, which is being done on him, at the same time he's checking the avalanche, he might be over a part where there's no mace. So therefore, Misafik, he can't make a Pesach Sheni, because maybe he wasn't yet Tomei and he was yet in Pesach Rishon. He can't eat the Korban Pesach, maybe he was already Tomei, but he doesn't make Pesach Sheni, because maybe he wasn't yet Tomei. Okay? That's Begal Haroch, right? Pa'amim, now, last line, Pa'amim, she'ein nasa kayetzibam. Sometimes he's not like the rest of them, meaning he for sure has to make Pesach Sheni. When's that? Begal Agol, when it's a round avalanche, because then the whole time he was over bodies, because it's it means a small one. So then he was definitely puzzled at the time of they made the Korban Pesach. Ira ben psul ben shchita l'zrika. what happens if one of these guys, let's say a choyle or a zokain, all of a sudden he got time shchita, it was okay, he could eat a kazayis. But then between shchita and zrika, he got too sick and he can't eat a kazayis anymore. Nasa kayetze bo bigal ogo. He's like they become then like the guys who cleared the round avalanche. Meaning that they too have to make Pesach Sheni. Why is that? Because this is according to the opinion which holds, as Korbaneda points out, that a guy has to be roy la'achila even b'shas rika. It's machlokas in Rabban and Rabbi Nosson. Rabbi Nosson holds to be roy la'achila b'shas shchita. Rabban holds the roy la'achol also b'shas rika, and therefore they hold that these guys are put on Pesach Sheni. Ain't sure this is based on Yochid. Rabbi says you can't share the Korban Pesach for an individual. Rabbi Yossi Matir, Rabbi Yossi says it's permissible. Afilu chabura shomea. Even if you have a chabura of 100 guys, she'yechem le'achol kazayis, they none of them can eat the kazayis. Ain't shech the milay, you can't share them Korban Pesach. Ve'inoisim chabura, you can't make a chabura exclusively of noshim, women, avodim, slaves, and katanim, children. I'm Rabbi Yochanan. No, okay. All right, Yochanan, yeah. But Yochanan said no. It's only if they're all together, not if separate. You can have separate women. It's called chabura. We had that last spot. This is only if they're all together. The noshim, avodim, and ketanim all together. Okay. Yeah, the ketanim are superfluous. It means noshim and avodim. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi what's like Rabbi Yehuda, who says you can't share the Korban Pesach Yochid because it says lo sucha lisbaz Pesach be'echod sharechu. Literally, that means the pasuk shine the pasuk is you can't share the Pesach in one of your gates. But we dashid lo sucha lisbaz Pesach be'echod. Can't share the Korban Pesach for one guy. Has to live with chabuche. Korban Pesach has to be done with a group. Ma'amakam Rabbi Yossi Tam Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yossi do with this pasuk Rabbi Yehuda? Pasuk Rabbi Elazar Matthew. Let's talk about Matthew. Titanye. Rabbi Elazar and Matthew. Rabbi Elazar says. Elazar Matthew says. Let's say you have 6 million Jews who are Torah and 6 million and 1 Jews who are Tamei. Do I say Tuma Utra B'Tzibur on the basis of a majority of 1? And this he learns. That's how he dashes lo sucha lisbaz Pesach, meaning that you can't say tuma utra b'tzibur on the basis of a majority of 1. This guy believes the majority of 2. We had that way back when.
So you kick out one of the...
Right, you make one of them tamei, right, make one of them Torah. Rabbi Yochanan says, Moida Rabbi Yehuda says b'diavad. Interesting. There is chatchilim b'diavad in the Torah itself. B'diavad imavar v'zarek esadam. If you did Zrika Saddam on a solitary guy, Shawurza, that it works. However, if it's Shachat, and Shinogigol takes even further, what if you didn't even get to the Zrika? You just did the Shchita on the solitary guy, Matir Lo Lizrok, better to the Zrika Saddam than let the Korban become possible. Tani Enosim Chabura, Noshim Vavodim Ukitanim. Why? Because it preaches. Tiflo here means preaches. They get together and Vodim and Ketan Noshim do preaches stick of things. Tai Bar Kapar Shleivius country they beside. Another interpretation Bar Kapar says that since they are frivolous individuals, they will be bring the kachim to mockery. Rabbi Yazi said, "Ain't see a chabur shel gerim. Can't make a chabur exclusively of gerim." Now in the Bavli it just said the words mibnei shemidaktin gumba, right? Because they're too medaktik in it, and they're going to bring it to psul. So it sounds like a shvach on gerim. They're so meticulous that they're going to be afraid, to eat properly, and therefore they're going to be too much nicer. But it says the opposite. It says midol shemikuf kolim. It says the gerim are bad. And medaktik, they're not properly medaktik. Femivino so they psul and they make it possible. Okay. Onei Tova, the clock seems to have stood still tonight. Shemesh begivon dom v'yarech be'emek ayalon. Onei Tova. Maybe there's no minion tonight. Onei Tova, and Onei goes to the mikveh. It must be Chanukah party tonight. Onei Tova v'ochel pischo l'erev. And Onei tovels and eats his Pesach that night. Avalo b'kachim, but not other kachim. It's a special heter by Onei and Pesach, not by other karbonos. Hashamei Mesa, somebody hears that somebody died in his family a while ago, or or bones are collected in his family on Erev Pesach, so that he's momentarily tamei. He's momentarily an avel. He goes to mikvah, even though he didn't actually physically get involved, since he was an avel. So therefore, he goes to the mikvah of even korbanos the night after that. Gershon's guy Pesachim, as I mentioned to you, Gershon's guy Pesach, B'sharmin Toivel V'Oichos Piskol Erev, he dunks the mikveh and goes to eat the Pesach at night. L'somrim haporish min ha'orlok haporish min ha'kever, so he separates from the oil, it's like separating from the grave, and therefore he has to wait at least 7 days before making any Korban Pesach.
Why does the only have to do tefillah? He's not Tummy.
Right, it's like the Rabbanan, to separate his status, because the only has to do with death. It's symbolic.
And I thought the only is Patur, so why is he?
He is. It's a kula. We let him do the Korban Pesach. Yeah. No. Our Mishnah is talking about the only time we created the situation, Pesach and other korbanos is where he became an one between the shchita and the zrika. But if you came in on it after the kapora, even on any other korban, kvarutza, he already is appeased, and that night he can eat even from the other korban. Okay, by Pesach we said can be makriv on him when he's an oinin the entire time. By any other korban, we said you're not makriv on him. However, if you already were makriv, so he can eat the korban that night. Not during the day because he's not, but that night. Now, of course, at night it's even though the mace was not buried yet, because we're holding that aninus laila is the Rabbana, and Rabbana were not machmir by aninus laila, where there's a korban pesach involved, and even other korbanos if the korban is already slaughtered and zrikas adam done at the time that the person died. And this is a long sugi about Aninus Laila not being Doraisa. The Tani Kane, we're going to learn more about it tomorrow. Ezui Aninus, what's Aninus? Bishas Misav Chas Kfur Divi Rebbe. Rebbe holds us from the time death, from the time till time burial. Chachomri Kol Hayom, Kulo, the entire day. But never, not at night. And that's I don't want. I'll stop. We'll stop here because it goes on and on. We'll come back to this tomorrow. The issue of how long Aninus lasts, the Raisa and the Rabbanan.